Welcome to Something to Talk About. Thanks for having us along with you. We are at King's Restaurant in Timooning, and we are feasting on the banquet that is the King's menu. We've all ordered different things, and we're so grateful to the staff at King's for constantly providing this great food for us every week. I want to introduce to you an interesting topic that actually was born of perusing Facebook and talking to several people, to include our guests from the Autism Community Together organization. There's Joe Bloss. Good morning.
Good morning.
Or good afternoon and good evening.
I think it's still morning.
Yeah. And Aurora Lowe Cruz. Hi, Aurora. How are you?
Michelle.
Michelle.
It's okay.
It's your daughter's name and your mother's name.
I got lots
it's
of
Michelle
names.
Lowe Cruz.
It's all
is,
me.
Is with us today. Thanks a lot, you guys, for coming along.
Thanks for having
My
us.
pleasure.
I was interested in this topic because a lot of us don't recognize some pretty obvious things to parents of children with autism. And the backdrop you'll see is a innocently enough looking pumpkin to celebrate Halloween. And for some kids, this is a scary
That's
optic.
a big.
It's a scary image.
Scream and run.
And it was because Michelle had posted something on Facebook. I thought, well, that is so interesting that this is even a topic. And so I would never have thought, is this like something that happens every year, or is this? Do you have to? How would you have? How does?
Oh
this,
yeah, I think since she could first walk and we tried to get her to do her first trick or treat. It's been like that every year.
Yeah.
And it just gets worse. Every year it gets worse.
Yeah. You could see all of these images, ghostly goblins, and some things that are even really friendly looking.
Yeah.
And it still presents like a threat or a
it
danger.
triggers for her. It triggers my daughter. It triggers like a PTSD. It's that bad because just seeing like a pumpkin will bring back all these bad memories for her. So when you
Is
have
it the bad
autism-
memory of the first time you ever went trick-or-treating? Is that it?
No,
Or is that-
what it is there is, well, to begin with, when you're a girl with autism, it's different. It presents differently. You have more anxiety. You have more depression. It's not as
It's a
obvious
hormonal
as
thing in
boys.
part?
Emotional more than, and being super sensitive. And so, when she was little, when she was a baby, I was like, oh, she's just like me. So I didn't think anything of it because I was like that, right? I'm the one in my family scared of fireworks, cried. Every time we went to watch the fireworks, I would cry. Every thunderstorm, I would cry. So,
You were scared of a lot of things.
yeah, but when you're in a big Chamorro family, you just like, everybody teases you if you whine and cry. So you just learn to suck it up and, stop crying. But,
That's interesting. That were you aware that there is it's not hormonal? It's the inherent way that girls are. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's really interesting. I've been researching a lot since my daughter was diagnosed. I think it's even neurologically the way autism is. I can't even think of how to put it into words. But if you look at boys on the autism spectrum and girls, they're so different. And that's why girls get misdiagnosed, and they just, a lot of times, they fly under the radar. It's like me, I'm 52 years old, I admit it, okay? But, it took me, my daughter getting diagnosed to say, I wonder, there's a really great book I'm reading, or I read, called Aspergerls by Rudy Simone. And I looked at that book and I read it and I said, this is me.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, this is me. Wow. How did I miss this?
Well, Joe has a son, Joseph, and he's a boy. Obviously, did you recognize, or do you when make these comparisons, or do you notice differences?
I think there's a lot of difference. Girls just make up such a small percentage of those that are diagnosed with autism, and some of it could be that they just misdiagnosed. But it's just it's like 8 out of 10 are going to be boys that are diagnosed with autism, and so I didn't really recognize if there's any differences. We have a few with girls in our group, but I don't see any real I haven't been exposed to or noticed any real differences.
But you're aware of the reactions.
Yes.
Does Joseph respond the same way as Aurora does when it comes to holidays or decorations or things that look out of sort?
He hasn't been like freaking out or anything about it, but some things he just doesn't want to be around. So if we're in the store and he sees the costumes, he wants nothing to do with it. Getting him to wear a costume is even pretty hard. So I have to look for a costume that doesn't have a mask, that hopefully the material feels good because he only wears like dry fit type material.
Yeah, you're so picky with
texture. The texture on the skin.
Yes.
It has to feel
There's a larger sensitivity, an ultra sensitivity.
Yes.
hypersensitivity.
The dry fit type or like a compression shirt, they like that. It feels
feels
good.
like they're being held.
It feels
They
like
need
they're,
that tight
they're
feeling.
being held and so
That's
as long as I get
interesting.
something similar to that, then he'll wear it. But
Yeah.
for the most part,
Oh,
he doesn't
yeah.
like to wear.
We
He
would-
doesn't even like to wear pants. So if you put on like he was Captain America,
That sounds like my
he
daughter.
rolled up
She'll
his
wear
pants,
jeans.
so it was Captain America
wear
with
'em.
shorts.
Oh man.
But-
Do you find that in different environments that kids notice or recognize the uncomfortability of a certain behavior if it's triggered by something? Do you notice? Did they stand out, for example? What's the reaction? I guess is a better question.
My daughter, it's so obvious. She's a drama queen. She always was.
How old is she?
She'll be 10 next month.
Okay.
She'll scream. She'll yell. She'll say, I don't want to be here. Or I want to go home. It's hysterics. And most recently, it's been just outright hysteria. Really, it's really, when we went to the psychiatrist 2 weeks ago. Oops. We went to the psychiatrist's office, and I had called them the day before or 2 days before, and I said, "Do you have any decorations? Because if you guys even have just like a jack-o'-lantern in the door, she won't go in. She will just shut down and she won't go in, or she'll go into hysterics, depending on if she's hungry or if she's tired, what time of the day, etc." So we got some little decorations, like a jack-o'-lantern and stuff. And I said, "Is there any way you can take those down? Because she won't go in, and it'll be a waste of time for the doctor and for us to go there, and she's going to have this dramatic reaction." And so they said, "No, but what we can do is we can have you go to this other room next, to the normal screen area." And, so my husband left without me. He took her because he's trying to be on time. And so I'm following along in my own car 10 minutes later. And I get there and she's completely hysterical. And I said to my husband, what did you do?
What did you do?
What did you do? And he goes, she saw the decorations and she started screaming. And I said, okay, all right. So it was just a waste. I went in and I talked to the psychiatrist, and it was just, it's that kind of thing that you just go, oh my God, it's something that she needs. Yeah. She needs to see a psychiatrist because of her anxiety issues. And, it was just so frustrating.
Yeah. Did they eventually take it down?
No. No, people refuse. People will not. They refuse, and they'll say, well, and I understand. It's not fair to people who are into Halloween. Yeah. I understand.
But temporarily, it could be
temporarily
removed
until you came in.
Yeah.
I think they could have done that. I mean, because we've made arrangements when we're bringing our kids maybe to like Sky Zone, and they would brighten the lights a little bit, turn the music down, so it's a lot quieter. Because I remember they gave us 2 hours, and then we went in, we took them into the room so we can feed them. And when we came out and were ready to go, it was like, oh my God, is this how it usually is? And
super bright.
My son's already super bright. I know they dim it a little, and then
they need dim lights.
The music was blasting, and my son was just like freaking out. But I think if you make arrangements in advance, I mean, I'm saddened that office wouldn't do that for you, but a lot of times, a lot of them, they do understand and they make arrangements.
Yeah.
When I take my son to get his shots, I'll make arrangements with the pediatrics to get it done there, and then I'll just go collect the shots and let it, because they know how to handle him. They could put him in a private room. He's not screaming, freaking out the other kids, and that was what I was always concerned about. So, I think if you make arrangements, let them understand, then they're usually
Well,
a
it's
lot better.
inevitable as the season wears on. It's inevitable that these things are going to pop up, and obviously the environment. I think you guys are saying you can't control it, and you can't expect people that are going to.
No, not really. I
but
understand. It's not fair.
I want to take a break here, but when we come back, I also want to. What I've noticed about both of you, when you're talking about certain behaviors that are triggered, you're both laughing and I'm sweating, thinking, that kid that had the temper tantrum in my family in front of everybody. I'm like, get to the car right now and let's save. But you guys are laughing it off, and I want
Patty,
to
you
know.
should come to our autism meeting.
Yeah,
It's so loud and we're just screaming over each other.
So
But
clearly, the sense of humor is what helps get to.
You
Absolutely.
need it. You
Okay.
need to have it.
We'll talk about that and how to deal with Halloween in the schools, in the environments where your kids are exposed to. We'll be right back. We're going to eat something. We'll be right back. Welcome back with the autism community together. We've got Michelle Lowe Cruz and we've got Joe Bloss. And before we went to the break, I was asking about having a sense of humor, because clearly when you are raising children with autism, that you obviously have to have a sense of humor. I have a hard time laughing with you because I think for a lot of people, they don't know a lot. And if it wasn't for the organization, regularly coming through and we learn these lessons, we learn all about the world. It's not consistent. There's no behavior that is like somebody else's. Each child is
the spectrum.
different.
That's why
each
it's a
child-
spectrum.
Okay, and that's some proper terminology. It's the spectrum. So each child reacts and it responds to
Presents
things
differently. That's why Dr. Lily, when my daughter we were going through the IEP eligibility process, and even though I had her tested twice, and she was diagnosed with moderate, not high functioning. I mean, she is high functioning, but she's like moderate, level 2. So there's 3 levels. There's level 1, level 2, and level 3. And is level 1 the more disabled, or is it level 3?
I believe level 1.
Yeah. So, Dr. Lily Parrish, she's the one who diagnosed her, and she goes, just because DOE doesn't see the symptoms doesn't mean she doesn't have autism, because it's a spectrum. Because we went through this whole process where they were like, no, she doesn't have autism. She was not given an IEP. They refused to give her one because they said, oh no, she doesn't have autism. And I said,
IEP
here I
is
have.
IEP
Individual
is
educational plan.
Thanks,
This is-
Joe. I have known that.
So IEP is like each individual child is a
individual.
tailored program just for
Correct.
them.
Yes. So, when you go in there and you have a child, especially with girls, more so than boys again, because they don't present the same way, you really have to fight for your kids and say, I have the results here. Here's the data from the psychologist or behaviorist. I forget what her qualifications are, but it's there in black and white. She did all these tests and she did it twice. And
every,
they're
like,
still
even for my son, every 3 years they have to redo it.
Yeah.
And you're like, why? Do you think he does this not? And they said, no, that's just what the policy says.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And sometimes when the child is high functioning, it just gets misunderstood that maybe he's just misbehaving because he's doing fine in
Well,
school.
I get
I heard
that
that
a lot.
I heard that a lot
Yeah,
when
they're
she was
misbehaving.
little. Spoiled.
Oh, she's spoiled.
She's spoiled.
That must be hard to hear.
It is very hard. It's heartbreaking. To have people tell you that your child is running all over you, just taking
you're just
advantage
giving
of you.
her or letting them
No.
have what they want or whatnot. But what I've learned a lot, Patty, is with everything going on, you have to have a sense of humor, number
Yep.
one. Number two, you have to pick your battles.
Yep.
Do I really
Yes, I tell my
want
husband
to
that
go
all
off
the
on
time.
this? Sometimes
Pick
we're
your
going
battles.
somewhere and he doesn't want to wear clothes. Let's go.
That's not a
and
big
then
deal.
people are like,
Same.
well, not anymore, but they're like, where's your son's clothes? Hey, you know what?
He didn't want to wear them today.
Picking my battles. Look, he's fine.
Yeah.
We're not gonna, I don't know. I mean, you're going, I'm walking in public, I'm going somewhere in public and my son only has pull-ups on. Of course I'm thinking about it. Of course
Sure.
I'm wondering what people are saying, but you know what? Is my son okay? that's fine. I'm okay then. You know, you got to pick
Is he
your battle.
happy? Is he having a meltdown? That's
What's
number one.
a battle that you will pick? What's a battle that you're
when
willing
we're
to battle?
going to mass, and he just doesn't want to have it. That kind of battle, he often wins because it's like, okay, you're going to be kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
Mass is not a place for that.
Yeah.
If he has a doctor's appointment, he's kicking and screaming. That's okay because they know him.
Yeah.
They know how to handle him. Even at the dentist. He goes in there, he's screaming, but he's walking in there, but he knows he's screaming. But, you know, all 5 of them that have to hold him down, they know how it is. That kind, I can handle the kicking and screaming. Mass, it's a whole different ballgame. He's going to win.
He's going to win.
He's going to win, and we're going to go watch it on TV or something.
What about you?
We can't do mass. We can't do any. It's total sensory overload for her. We went through this whole thing when she was little, and we'd take her to church, and she would just be screaming and crying and throwing up. I'm sorry we're eating, but this whole and everybody's like, what's going on? Oh, she's cranky. She didn't take a nap, or maybe she's hungry.
Do people ever come up to you and make judgments on you to your face, like control your kid or?
I've only had that happen once or twice.
Did you deck them?
I wanted to. My Molly was with me and she calmed me down.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, and then
Yeah.
I think one of the staff went over and said, hey, her son has autism, or, he's having a bad day. Because I'll just tell people he's just having a hard time right now. But yeah, believe me.
Without over-explaining it.
Believe me, I've had to tell people, you know what, my son's made me a very patient person, because in the past I probably would have gone over and wanted to hit them. And don't think it hasn't crossed my mind, but
Sure.
I've learned to.
Naturally.
Yes, because if I get excited, so does he.
Yeah.
So if he's having a meltdown, I have to be the calming voice.
Yes. Oh God, yes. Oh.
You know what you
That
brought?
is so true.
You brought up a point. Just another thing, the idiosyncrasies. You brought up a point that we were looking at her food. She's got really good barbecue chicken. I'm just ready to hack into it because it smells so good. But you say that the food has to be arranged, or they can't touch.
they can't.
or what?
They can't touch. My daughter's food cannot touch like that. There's no vegetables.
Like if the corn is
No.
on the chicken, they would
No
freak
way.
out.
No.
They would freak
She'll-
out. He doesn't want it
she'll
anymore.
make a loud
Of course, he only eats
yell.
fries, but other kids are like that. And when he used to eat different foods, you can't have the rice touch the
Touching
chicken,
the chicken,
or anything like that.
That little bit of onion, she'll be just running and screaming and
but it's all trial and error. Once you
Yes.
get it wrong, you just never do it again.
Right.
Yeah.
But do they
And you
come
have
back
to teach
like
other people about it
Yeah.
and explain to them why it's like that. And it's so hard, to get people to accept that. Because again, girls are different from boys. I'm sorry I'm saying that a lot,
Well,
but
let's
it's
go
so
there for
true.
a second, because I follow you on Facebook.
Yeah.
And you have trials. You have no. I'm not-
Rants. I know.
You did, no. You have trials, and I understand it. When I read your stories, and the reason why we're sitting here is because I've read your accounts and some of your experiences. And there was one that you wrote must have been several weeks ago, if not a month, that you talked about developmentally. She's still a 9-year-old girl that anatomically, biologically, is changing.
Oh yeah.
Along with
my God.
every child who's 9 years old.
You see,
or 10,
and this
right?
is another reason why, if you have a child, and if I could just speak to your audience right now, if you have a child, a girl especially, if they are presenting with a lot of anxiety, like even stomach problems, throwing up, like not wanting to go to school, crying, have them checked out, because, they present differently, and you have to think about your child and what's going on in their head. And I have a lot of times, I have to put myself in my daughter's head and say, what is it that is making her act this way? What is scaring her? Because what I've heard a lot about autism is that everything is painful. Lights, this kind of lighting, she will not go for it. She will not stand it. The food, all
But
the
on
food here,
top
the
of that-
smells of the food.
But on top of that,
she won't
she's
handle that.
she's also growing.
She is
in
going
her sexual
through
development,
puberty
and
right
so
now,
that
and it is so
it's hard
incredibly
enough.
difficult.
It's hard enough for a 9 or 10-year-old
Right.
girl
Yeah.
than to have a more sensitive situation.
Yeah, honestly, when she was born, ever since she was born, I knew that when she hit puberty, it would be really hard on her because she's so sensitive. And, you know, we saw the signs and we're like, okay, it's coming soon. But then, you know, it just kind of, when it hit us, we were just really not prepared. And that's where we talk about having to pull that patience out of us that we never really knew existed. You know, because when my daughter hit puberty was just like maybe a couple of months ago, and just complete 180 in her moods, her personality completely changed. You know, she's like, she'll only eat fast food now, nothing else. And before that, she would eat, you know, chicken nuggets, you know, from Costi-less or whatever. Oops, plug.
That's okay. It's all right. I mean, that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah,
So
you know. So, but now, you know, this whole thing with her going through puberty, her moods are so severe, and she's so moody. And so when we saw that, we were just not prepared for it. And it's so hard because, like you said, she's still a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
She's still. I look at her, and honestly, my husband and I, we both just cried our eyes out that night. We bawled because, and we told each other separately, right? You know, I was like, babe, I cried. Ugly cried. I really ugly cried. And he's like, I did too. Because we were not expecting that.
And it's out of your control.
Yeah, because she's not even 10. But you know, all the signs were there.
Yeah.
So the moodiness.
Wow. So, sort of back to the original idea, as we're winding down the show now, I wanted to ask you, what is the best solution for, well, now in this, you know, in the season, Halloween, everybody celebrates it, and it's a big deal. Everywhere it's a big deal. How do you control the exposure, or do you control the exposure?
We tried all of the, you know, exposure theory things. We went through all of that with her in school when we were still trying to make her go to school, because we withdrew her and we're homeschooling her now. We tried a psychologist we were seeing for her suggested, you know, exposure theory, take her to school, and if she gets freaked out, take her home. This is during Halloween. Every year we have to fight with her to go to school. She's hysterical, she's crying, she's throwing up. Every year it's the same thing. She won't leave the house during the month of October, period.
Wow.
She won't. She will not go to Payless, I'm sorry. She will not go to Payless because she knows they will have decorations up.
Yeah. And almost everywhere you go, there are decorations, including right here. So, well, thank you for that, by the way.
My boy is not too bad. They've been doing a good job in the school because he's in his specials class. They'll let him wear costumes, but I think they've done also a good job to control like the types of costumes people wear.
That's very important.
So
Very
it's not
important.
so much maybe the scary ones, more like the superhero types or just the fun-looking ones.
Yeah.
And then they take them and they do a little parade, and just to get them exposed to it, you know. And then so people are like, "Where do you take him for trick-or-treating?" I said, "We don't go because he doesn't know what he's missing. He doesn't care if he's missing. He doesn't eat candy, so you know." But
so it's all good.
Yeah, but a lot of it, like she was saying, it's trial and error. And if you know they don't like that location, you can either talk them into it. Maybe they'll learn to like it, or just avoid it altogether.
Well, as usual, I've learned a lot. Thanks, ladies, for doing this. I appreciate the time that you take, especially you taking the time away from your homeschooling. But I'm not going to apologize that you're sitting at King's eating a nice lunch with the girls. I appreciate it. Take care. All right, absolutely. That'll do it for us here on Something to Talk About. See you next time.